A Different World was more than just a sitcom. It was a cultural phenomenon that tackled important social issues while entertaining millions. The show introduced us to a talented cast who brought humor, heart, and authenticity to their roles. But sadly, many of these beloved actors are no longer with us. In this video, we pay tribute to 35 stars from A Different World who have tragically passed away. From lead actors to memorable guest stars, we'll celebrate their lives, careers, and the legacies they left behind while reflecting on the heartbreaking circumstances of their passing. Stay with us as we honor their memory. Lou Myers took on the role of Vernon Gaines in A Different World in 1988 at the age of 53, portraying the gruff yet endearing owner of the pit, where students gathered for food and wisdom. Vernon was opinionated, wise, and deeply caring beneath his tough exterior, becoming a father figure to many. Myers' real life was far less stable. Struggling for decades in the entertainment industry, he often found himself broke and on the verge of homelessness. His marriage ended in heartbreak, with his wife leaving him for a more financially secure life, and his estranged son refused to reconcile even in his later years. Despite his undeniable talent, Myers was often relegated to supporting roles, never achieving the stardom he longed for. In his final years, declining health, diabetes, and a stroke left him weak and dependent on medical care. He spent his last days in a hospital, largely alone, his once booming voice reduced to whispers. He passed away from pneumonia on February 19, 2013, at 77.
Well, there's a revolution going on.
Well, just keep it out of my kitchen. Oh, how is my favorite marketing executive?
Hungry.
Diane Carroll joined A Different World in 1989 at 54 as Marion Gilbert, the elegant, sophisticated, and demanding mother of Whitley. A pioneer for black women in Hollywood, Carroll shattered barriers but paid an enormous personal cost. She endured relentless racism and industry pressures that forced her to maintain a picture-perfect image at all times. Behind the glamour, her personal life was riddled with heartache, for marriages, all of them ending in divorce, and an often strained relationship with her only daughter, who resented her mother's absence due to career demands. Carroll longed for lasting love, but betrayal and disappointment followed her at every turn. In 1997, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and fought a grueling battle for over 2 decades. Though she remained composed in public, privately, she was exhausted and weary of the fight. On October 4, 2019, at 84, she succumbed to the disease, leaving behind a legacy of triumph overshadowed by loneliness and regret.
Holy moly!
Excuse him, ma'am, Dwayne Wayne. I'd be happy to run up and get Whitley for you.
Oh, thank you so much, but she's expecting me. I'm sure she...
Mary Alice played Letty Bostick from 1987 to 1989 at the age of 51, embodying the kind-hearted yet no-nonsense dorm director who guided students with warmth and wisdom. A deeply private person, Alice shunned the spotlight despite her immense talent. She never married and had no children, devoting herself entirely to acting, but Hollywood never fully recognized her brilliance. After retiring in the early 2000s, she withdrew completely from public life, living in near obscurity. As the years passed, her once sharp mind began to fade, dementia took hold, leaving her lost in memories of a life that had never brought her the fulfillment she sought. Neighbors recalled seeing her wander aimlessly, confused and disconnected from reality. She died alone in her apartment on July 27, 2022, at 85, her passing barely making headlines. Her immense contributions to the arts were largely forgotten, a quiet and sorrowful end for a woman who had given so much yet received so little in return.
Excuse me, where was all the secret info?
It was written on the sheet music in invisible ink. Go ahead, Mother.
Ron O'Neal played Mercer Gilbert in 1988 at 51, portraying Whitley's stern, no-nonsense father. His breakout role as Superfly, 1972, should have made him a Hollywood legend, but instead, it became a curse. Typecast and dismissed by the industry, O'Neal watched helplessly as his career spiraled into irrelevance. The rejection embittered him, leaving him angry and isolated. His personal life fared no better. 2 failed marriages, no children, and years of financial struggles left him without a stable support system. The few roles he did secure in later years barely sustained him, forcing him to take on demeaning jobs just to survive. When he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2000, he kept the illness a secret, unwilling to let the world see him in his weakened state. By the time he passed on January 14, 2004, at 66, Hollywood had long forgotten him, his dreams of lasting fame reduced to nothing but memories of what could have been.
I had this made especially for you. Blind Justice.
Yeah, well, that's very nice, sweetheart. Only a cigar would have sufficed.
No.
Roscoe Lee Brown played Dr. Barnabas Foster in 1988 at 66, bringing gravitas and intellect to the role of the esteemed professor. A brilliant actor with a distinguished voice, Brown commanded respect on screen, but off-screen, he faced an uphill battle against racial barriers that limited his opportunities. He never married, and though he was rumored to have had deep romances, none were public, leaving his personal life shrouded in mystery. Despite his intellect and charm, he spent much of his later years alone, filling the silence with books and poetry rather than companionship. When stomach cancer struck, he bore it with quiet dignity, refusing to seek pity. His once powerful voice grew weak, and as his body failed, so did the industry's memory of him. On April 11, 2007, at 84, he passed away in near solitude, a man who had given his life to the arts yet found himself facing death with no one left to applaud his final act.
The refrain is yet another way of creating rhythm in a poem. Gwendolyn Brooks utilizes it in a poem called
Rosalind Cash took on the role of the formidable Dean Hughes in 1989 at the age of 51, bringing a commanding presence to Hillman College. Dean Hughes was a woman of authority, respected and feared in equal measure, embodying discipline and unwavering commitment to academic excellence. Before this, Cash had built a career in both film and television, starring in The Omega Man, 1971, alongside Charlton Heston and later appearing in numerous television dramas. However, despite her success on screen, her personal life was marked by solitude and heartbreak. She never married and had no children, often expressing in interviews that her dedication to her craft left little room for love. Friends described her as fiercely independent but tragically lonely, longing for a connection she never found. In her later years, her health deteriorated rapidly as cancer ravaged her body, yet she refused to let anyone witness her suffering. She died alone on October 31, 1995, at the age of 56, succumbing to cancer.
Oh, Mr. Gaines, everything's under control. We're sending someone up to talk to them. Someone closer to their own age. Someone who doesn't have a temperature of 101.
Ted Ross brought his formidable presence to a different world in 1987 as the strict yet fair Dean Harris at the age of 53. As an actor, he was best known for originating the role of the Cowardly Lion in The Wiz on Broadway, but behind his booming voice and commanding presence lay a life filled with hardship. Ross struggled with alcoholism for years, often drowning his sorrows in solitude. Though he married once, the relationship ended in divorce, leaving him estranged from his son. His career faded in the 1990s, and he withdrew from the public eye, struggling with health issues and financial instability. A stroke in 1998 left him in a nursing home, where he spent his last years in near obscurity. Once a celebrated performer, he died on September 3, 2002, at the age of 68, a shadow of his former self, succumbing to complications from his stroke, with only a handful of friends attending his funeral.
Denise Huxtable.
Yes, sir.
You live in Gilbert Hall and you currently have a 1.7 grade average.
I'm working on it, sir.
I hope so. Your major's undecided.
Robert Guillaume stepped into the role of the charismatic Dean Winston in 1991 at 64, bringing his signature wit and wisdom to a different world. As Dean Winston, he was a mentor and guide, effortlessly bridging the gap between students and faculty with his charm. Guillaume's career had soared with Benson, earning him Emmy Awards, but behind the scenes, his life was marred by personal turmoil. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, and while his second marriage to Donna Brown proved longer lasting, it was not without its struggles. He lost his son Jacques to AIDS in 1990, a tragedy that haunted him for the rest of his life. Despite his resilience, he faced financial difficulties in later years as health complications drained his savings. A stroke in 1999 left him partially paralyzed, forcing him to relearn how to speak. The once vibrant actor struggled with declining health for nearly 2 decades before passing away on October 24, 2017, at the age of 89 from complications of prostate cancer.
I must speak. Good. You'll have a whole year to practice because you're not going to graduate this year.
Richard Roundtree stepped into the role of Clinton Reese in 1989 at the age of 47, playing a wise and compassionate mentor to the students of Hillman College. Best known for his groundbreaking role as John Shaft in the 1971 classic Shaft, Roundtree was a symbol of strength and resilience. Yet, his personal life was fraught with difficulty. He married twice, with both unions ending in divorce, and struggled to maintain close relationships with his children. In 1993, he was diagnosed with breast cancer, a rare and shocking diagnosis for a man, and endured a double mastectomy, a battle he fought largely in silence. Despite surviving cancer, his later years were plagued with financial difficulties and professional setbacks. He continued working until the very end, masking his pain behind his performances. On October 24, 2023, at the age of 81, Roundtree lost his battle with pancreatic cancer.
Hyper little thing.
Well, that's my Achilles. You know, I remember the day I took her to her first Cleveland Brown football game.
Art Evans portrayed the kind-hearted Mr. Johnson in 1990 at the age of 48, bringing warmth and humor to the show. With a career spanning decades, he appeared in films like Die Hard 2, 1990, and Trespass, 1992, yet he never achieved true stardom. Despite his affable on-screen persona, Evans' real life was marked by sorrow. He married young, but the relationship crumbled under financial strain, and his wife left him, taking their 2 children. He rarely spoke about them in interviews, the pain of separation evident in his quiet demeanor. In his later years, he suffered from diabetes, which led to numerous complications, leaving him weak and dependent on others. He lived out his final days in a small apartment, isolated and forgotten by the industry he once served. On December 21, 2024, at the age of 82, he succumbed to complications from diabetes, dying in near anonymity, his passing barely making headlines.
Listen, Ron, I'm having a new sign made up. Johnson and Son Automotive. Just wait till you see your name up there in lights.
Oh, Pop, that's what I tried to tell you yesterday.
Jamie Card-Reich played Winston the Meat Locker Woodson in 1988 at the age of 20, portraying a physically imposing yet kind-hearted athlete. His massive frame led to frequent typecasting, limiting his career to roles as bodyguards, wrestlers, and thugs, preventing him from showcasing his full range as an actor. Despite his lighthearted on-screen persona, he struggled with insecurities about his weight and health, which contributed to periods of depression. He never married or had children, and though he often joked about his bachelor life, those close to him knew he longed for a deeper connection. His struggles with obesity eventually led to medical complications, and in 2000, he underwent gallbladder surgery. Tragically, complications arose during the procedure, and he passed away on July 28, 2000, at just 32, leaving behind a career that never reached its full potential and a life cut devastatingly short.
Equals B squared plus C squared. What's the hypotenuse?
12.
Christophe St. John played E.Z. Brooks in 1988 at 22, portraying a charismatic and smooth-talking student who charmed everyone around him. Off-screen, his career flourished, particularly with his long-running role on The Young and the Restless, which brought him fame and industry recognition. However, his personal life was riddled with heartbreak. He married twice, first to boxer Mia St. John, with whom he had a son, Julian, and later to Alana Nadal, but both marriages ended in divorce. The greatest tragedy of his life was the loss of his son Julian, who struggled with severe mental illness and died by suicide in 2014. This loss devastated Christoph, sending him into a spiral of depression, alcohol abuse, and self-destruction. Despite attempts at rehabilitation, he never fully recovered from the grief. On February 3, 2019, at the age of 52, he was found dead in his home, with the cause ruled as hypertrophic heart disease exacerbated by alcohol.
I always wanted to be a lawyer. Come on, man. Lawyer, fry cook. My parents would kill me. Take it down 1,000. Now, if you want to stuff pitas for a living, hey, it's your life.
Gilbert Gottfried played the quirky sergeant in 1992 at 37, bringing his signature grating voice and chaotic humor to the role. Though successful in stand-up, voice acting, and film, he faced constant backlash for his unapologetic and sometimes controversial comedy, which led to financial instability as endorsements were revoked and gigs canceled. Privately, he was a devoted husband to Dara Kravitz and a loving father to their 2 children, but his declining health loomed over his family life. He battled myotonic dystrophy type 2, a neuromuscular disease that progressively weakened him, making everyday tasks increasingly difficult. Though he continued working as long as he could, his body gradually betrayed him. On April 12, 2022, at 67, he succumbed to recurrent ventricular tachycardia caused by his condition, his once boisterous voice silenced forever, leaving behind a legacy of laughter tinged with personal struggles.
What are you doing? Stop! What are you stopping me for, huh? What did I do? What did I do, huh?
What are we stopping him for, sir?
I'm not afraid of you. And these windows...
Earl Hyman played Russell Huxtable in 1987 at the age of 61, bringing warmth, wisdom, and dignity to the role. A classically trained actor with a deep love for Shakespeare, he was a rare talent who spent much of his life fighting against racial barriers that kept him from leading roles. Though highly respected, he lived a solitary life, never marrying or having children, dedicating himself entirely to his craft. His later years were quiet and lonely as he gradually faded from the industry that had never fully embraced him. He spent his final years in an assisted living facility where few visitors came to see him, his once commanding presence reduced to a whisper of what it had been. On November 17, 2017, at the age of 91, he passed away from natural causes, a man whose extraordinary talent never received the recognition it truly deserved, leaving behind a legacy that, despite its brilliance, felt tragically overlooked.
Father. I'm her grandfather. I'm Russell Huxtable, Hillman class of 1935. Oh, this is Dr. Cordell Overby.
Zake Smokey played Marcus Mpepo in 1988 at 54, bringing real-life passion as a South African activist turned actor. A victim of apartheid, he was forced into exile, leaving behind his homeland and the life he once knew. Though he found success in Hollywood, he struggled with being typecast, rarely given the chance to portray roles beyond the suffering black man. His marriage to Madeline Moki was filled with turmoil, leading to divorce and eventual remarriage, though their relationship remained strained. In 2005, tragedy struck when he suffered a stroke that robbed him of his ability to speak, a cruel twist for a man whose voice had once been his most powerful tool. Isolated and in declining health, he passed away on September 11, 2009, at 75, his final years marked by silence and suffering, a haunting end to a life once filled with defiance and strength.
Why?
Because someone named Dr. Cupid had a message from you. What did he say? Life without you.
Roxy Roker portrayed the no-nonsense Dean Barksdale in 1991 at 62, exuding authority and a commanding presence. Best known for her groundbreaking role as Helen Willis in The Jeffersons, 1975 to 1985, she was one of the first actresses to portray an interracial marriage on television. Though a beloved figure on screen, her personal life was filled with heartache. Her marriage to Cy Kravitz ended in divorce in 1985, leaving her emotionally devastated, though she remained devoted to their son, Lenny Kravitz. As she aged, work opportunities dwindled, and her once prominent career faded into the background. Then came the most tragic chapter of her life, a battle with breast cancer that advanced aggressively. The illness drained her strength, and as she became weaker, she retreated from the public eye. On December 2, 1995, at the age of 66, she passed away in quiet suffering, her immense impact on television history often overlooked in the years that followed.
Oh, you say that things are going well, and yet one of your girls is dropping out of school.
They are? She is?
Heavy D appeared as himself in a different world in 1989 at the age of 22, bringing his infectious charisma and larger-than-life presence to the show. A hip-hop legend, he rose to fame with Heavy D and The Boys, producing hits like Now That We Found Love, 1991. However, behind his upbeat public persona, he faced lifelong struggles with weight and self-esteem, leading to health issues that would haunt him. Though he never married, he cherished his daughter, Z Myers, whom he tried to shield from the darker aspects of his life. As the 2000s progressed, his music career declined, and he longed for a comeback, but health problems stood in his way. In 2011, after a trip to London for Michael Jackson's tribute concert, he returned home feeling unwell. On November 8, 2011, at just 44, he collapsed outside his Beverly Hills home and died from a pulmonary embolism, his once vibrant energy extinguished far too soon.
Certainly is easier on the ear than that rhyming racket.
I wouldn't say that. You know, opera and rap do have some similarities.
What? Besides the fact that neither is sung.
James Avery played the menacing and formidable The Pen Punisher in 1989 at 44, bringing his signature commanding presence to the role. Best known as Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 1990 to 1996, he was loved by audiences but often felt overlooked in Hollywood. Though he found steady work, he longed for more recognition as a serious actor. In his personal life, he was married to Barbara Avery, but their childless marriage left him yearning for something more. Over the years, weight-related health issues worsened, putting a strain on his well-being. In 2013, he underwent open-heart surgery in hopes of improving his health, but complications arose. On December 31, 2013, at 68, he died in a California hospital, his rich, booming voice silenced forever. His legacy endured, but beneath his powerful performances lay a man who struggled with the weight of unrealized dreams.
You know, you did kind of drag that left foot just a little bit. Is that right, Colonel?
Kenneth Mars played the eccentric and humorous Ridley in 1992 at 57, masking a life of struggles behind his comedic performances. A veteran actor, he was best known for his roles in The Producers, 1967, and Young Frankenstein, 1974, yet despite his early success, his later career saw a slow decline. Typecast as a comedic side character, he longed for more serious roles but was often overlooked. His personal life was filled with turmoil, his marriage ended in 1981, and his two daughters became distant, leaving him feeling abandoned. In 2005, tragedy struck when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, a disease that eventually robbed him of his ability to speak. For a man whose voice was his livelihood, the silence was unbearable. Isolated and unable to work, he passed away on February 12, 2011, at the age of 75, spending his final years in quiet suffering, his once vibrant career fading into obscurity. Larry Linville played the strict and calculating Senator Hutchinson in 1992 at the age of 53, bringing an air of political authority to the role. He was best known for his portrayal of the inept and cowardly Major Frank Burns on MASH*, 1972 to 1977, a role that defined his career but also became a curse. Despite his talent, he struggled to escape the shadow of Frank Burns, leading to frustration and a career filled with minor roles rather than the leading parts he craved. His personal life was just as tumultuous. He married 5 times, but none of his relationships lasted, leaving him in a cycle of loneliness and failed attempts at stability. A longtime smoker, he developed lung cancer, which led to multiple surgeries and an exhausting battle against the disease. In 2000, pneumonia set in, further weakening his fragile body. On April 10, 2000, at 60, he passed away, his final years marked by illness, regret, and a desperate attempt to reclaim the career that had eluded him.
Well, unfortunately, my opponent's three-part plan is one part.
Thomas McCall Ford played the confident and charismatic Lamar Collins in 1989 at the age of 25, bringing effortless charm and a commanding presence to the role. Lamar was the embodiment of self-assurance, always walking with a swagger that masked deeper insecurities, making him a compelling and layered character. Ford, known for his standout role as Tommy Strawn on Martin, enjoyed career highs but never fully escaped the shadow of his early success. While he had a reputation for comedic brilliance, his personal life unraveled behind the scenes. His marriage to Gina Sasso ended in divorce, and he struggled with strained relationships with his two children, who grew distant as his battles with financial hardship and personal demons escalated. After years of declining health, he was hospitalized in October 2016 for a ruptured abdominal aneurysm. As his body failed him, he fell into a coma, and he passed away on October 12, 2016, at just 52.
I hope she says good thing. You a student here?
Graduate student, dorm director, assistant coach, football.
Cliff Emick played the diligent desk sergeant in 1990 at the age of 54, portraying a man who was meticulous, reliable, and quietly burdened by the weight of responsibility. Emick's life mirrored his characters, a man always working, always striving, but never quite standing in the spotlight. Despite a career spanning decades, he was often relegated to supporting roles, never breaking through to the stardom he longed for. His personal life was one of profound loneliness. Never married, he lived in relative solitude, with only his aging mother for companionship until she passed, leaving him entirely alone. His health declined rapidly in his final years, and a diagnosis of lung cancer sealed his fate. As the disease ravaged his body, he withdrew further, refusing visitors, unwilling to let anyone see his frailty. On November 28, 2022, at 85, he passed away in an empty room, the world outside carrying on, oblivious to the quiet death of a man who had spent his life being overlooked.
With students at Hillman College, you can call Walter Oaks.
I received the ROTC Cadet of the Year award.
Well, now ain't that something? Listen, why don't you two just go take...
Tony Burton portrayed the authoritative Cap Connors in 1990 at the age of 53, commanding respect with his no-nonsense approach. Cap Connors was a strong and disciplined leader, but beneath his tough exterior lay a world-weary soul who had seen too much. Much like his character, Burton's life was one of survival and struggle. Before acting, he had been a professional boxer, but a hand injury shattered his dreams, forcing him to pivot to Hollywood, where he found himself typecast in tough guy roles, most notably as Duke in the Rocky series. His personal life was fraught with sorrow. His marriage, though long-lasting, was marred by financial instability and the lingering resentment of a man who never quite got the recognition he felt he deserved. In his later years, dementia began to steal his memories, and pneumonia weakened his body. On February 25, 2016, at 78, he died from complications of pneumonia, his final days spent in confusion, unaware that the world had largely forgotten him.
Hey, it's Cap Connors, y'all! Wow, how you doing, man? It took me 15 minutes to get a men's room attendant an autograph. He said he was going to put my role...
Raymond St. Jacques played Professor Charles Mosley in A Different World in 1988 at the age of 58, embodying a wise and disciplined professor who upheld academic excellence. A pioneering black actor, he made history as the first African American to have a regular role in a Western series, Rawhide, and later starred in Cotton Comes to Harlem, 1970, and They Live, 1988. Despite his groundbreaking career, he faced racism in Hollywood, often being typecast and struggling to secure leading roles. His personal life remained a mystery. Never married, he was rumored to have had strained family relationships and battled deep loneliness. As he aged, financial difficulties and health problems plagued him, and his lymphoma diagnosis in the late 1980s was a devastating blow. Weakened by illness and lacking strong support, he succumbed to the disease on August 27, 1990, at 60, his contributions largely overshadowed by an industry that had never fully embraced him. Vince Howard played the peace-loving peacemaker in 1992 at 63, offering a calm and steady presence on screen despite his inner struggles. Having appeared in numerous television series, including Emergency and Highway to Heaven, he maintained a steady but unremarkable career, always working but never achieving great fame. His marriage to Patricia, though lasting, was fraught with distance and unresolved conflicts, while his sons, Nathan and Louis, resented his frequent absences. As roles became scarcer, financial pressure mounted, leaving him burdened with stress. In 2001, he was diagnosed with leukemia, and the treatments left him weak and in constant pain. His final months were marked by exhaustion and despair as he came to terms with a career that never quite fulfilled his ambitions. He passed away on July 18, 2002, at the age of 72. His death met with little recognition, a quiet end to a life spent searching for meaning and success that always seemed just out of reach. Julius Carey played the sophisticated Larry Beaujolais in 1991 at the age of 39, adding a refined and charismatic presence to a different world. Before this, he gained fame as the flamboyant villain Shonuff in The Last Dragon, 1985, but despite his talent, he struggled to escape the shadow of that role. His later career saw sporadic guest appearances in TV shows, but the leading roles he longed for never came. Carey's personal life was equally turbulent. His marriage to Kathy Smith ended in a bitter divorce, with a prolonged custody battle over their only son, Carson, leaving emotional scars. Financial instability plagued him in his final years, and in 2006, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. As his health declined, so did his will to fight, and he withdrew from the world, suffering in isolation. He passed away on August 19, 2008, at the age of 56, his life and career cut short by illness, leaving behind unfulfilled dreams and a legacy that never reached its full potential. Paul Benedict played the eccentric and humorous Mr. Ludlow in 1991 at the age of 53, adding a touch of whimsy to the show with his offbeat charm. But behind the laughter lay a man tormented by both personal and professional demons. Benedict suffered from acromegaly, a rare disorder that caused his facial features to enlarge, making him instantly recognizable, but also leading to a lifetime of being cast as the oddball rather than the leading man. The rejection gnawed at him, fostering a deep sense of isolation. He never married, finding solace only in his work, but even that brought little comfort as he aged out of roles and opportunities dwindled. His final years were marked by paranoia and deteriorating mental health, haunted by the feeling that he was being watched, though no one was looking. On December 1, 2008, at 70, he suffered a fatal brain hemorrhage. Who is your favorite character in A Different World? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.